G'day guys, welcome to my Bonza channel, and today I've got a bit of a surprise for you. I'm going to be showing you how to do gluten-free Tarallis. I've made normal Tarallis before and they've always come out well, and I wanted to do gluten-free because my daughter can't have anything with gluten in it. And my first Tarallis that I made, I had to chuck them out, that was shit. But after a few tries, I've actually perfected my gluten-free Tarallis, and now I'm going to share with you how to make your own scrumptious gluten-free Taralli. Okay, let's get on with the ingredients. I'm using gluten-free plain flour. Use 3 cups of that. There's 2 teaspoons of xanthan gum, and that's basically to help bind it together. I've got a couple of teaspoons of salt. I've got 1 teaspoon of dry yeast, and I've got that at the moment. It's in my, I've added that to 2 tablespoons of warm water for the yeast. Add 2 tablespoons of beautiful virgin olive oil, and you can see that. Hopefully you can see that in there. You see the little bubbles of oil in there. I've added that to 250 ml of water and an extra tablespoon of water because I've noticed that the gluten-free flour needs a little bit more water. And to top it all off, I've put in tablespoon of my special wildly grown fennel seeds, and you can see that all sitting on top of the flour. Okay, I'm just waiting 10 minutes for the yeast to do its magic in the warm water there, and then I'm going to add it to the flour. Just make a bit of a cavity in there. To that, I'm going to add the yeast, and just to help it, I'm going to pour a bit of water there. A whole lot's going to go in at once. Just make sure I get all the yeast in there, otherwise I'm going to might speak for the glass. And then just going to turn that in with the spoon. And of course, if you've got one of those automatic bread making thingamajigs, you can use that. Nonno never had one of those, my mum never had one of those, she did everything by hand, so I'm going to do it all by hand. A bit of loving touch to it, I reckon. Now when I first did my first batch of gluten-free Tarallis, like I said, I actually threw the whole thing in the bin because when you're trying to make my little logs, the thing was just breaking up. It was a waste of time, so I got pissed off with it, just threw it away. But then I decided what I needed was something to help bind it. And that's, after a lot of research, that's when I found that that's what I needed, the xanthan gum. So I've added that to it. I like the lovely feeling when you get your hands into this stuff. Very tactile sensation, beautiful. So I'm basically working all the flour in together. Then once I've got enough of it, I'm going to tip it out and do the rest of it on my bench. Now I'm going to put that on the bench. And then you basically knead it for about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to set my timer. Okay, so the timer's ready to go. I'm just going to knead that for 10 minutes. And when I do my Tarallis, I always do 2 batches. I do a gluten-free batch, and I do that first. Then while that's resting, and you let it rest for about 20 minutes, I start preparing my normal batch. So I've got 2 batches, and I give most of the gluten-free batch to my daughter. I keep a little bit for myself because I like a bit of variety. Oh yeah, my daughter Nadia, she loves the Taralli. She says they come out really well. And I gave her a batch last week and it's gone, which is why I've decided to make another one. Nice workout too, guys, a little bit of exercise. Okay, so once the 10 minutes is up, what I do is I sort of just make it into a nice little ball, get a container, whack it in there, then I just cover it with a tea cloth and I let it rest for 30 minutes. Okay, the 20 minutes is up, we're just going to remove that. So that's the ready to go dough for my gluten-free Taralli, and if you compare that with the normal one, the gluten-free flour is a lot whiter. So I'm going to put a tea cloth on my other one. While that's getting ready, we're going to start and roll out some of the gluten-free stuff. Now, one thing I have noticed, the gluten-free dough is a lot easier to roll out. It doesn't have the elasticity of the normal flour, and when I roll out the normal flour, it tends to want to shrink back, whereas the gluten-free doesn't, which I think is a lot easier to, well, it's easier in a way, and it's also quicker. So what you do is once you've got one, you just make it into a little shape like that, and that's almost ready to go. So I'm just going to put it on there for now. Of course, there's one more step, and that step is to, you have to blanch it into boiling water. So we'll do that in a sec. You've got to be really gentle with the gluten-free one. It doesn't, it's not as robust as the normal Taralli. So that was going to come too small, so I just got to put a little bit more dough on there to make it a little bit bigger. Okay. Naturally, if you're going to do two, like a gluten-free Taralli and you're doing a normal one as well, you want to make sure that you clean your bench after doing a normal one, so that you don't contaminate your gluten-free Tarallis with gluten flour. I find making Tarallis really relaxing too, because you know, you're not worrying about anything at all, you're just sort of concentrating on making beautiful Tarallis. And I find it very therapeutic. I mean, if you've got young kids, this would be perfect to get them involved. I mean, who doesn't like playing with Play-Doh, eh? Well, this is sort of a bit like Play-Doh, only you can end up actually eating it and enjoying what comes out of the oven. Yeah, it's definitely a lot whiter than your normal dough. But hey, doesn't matter. As long as it tastes good, that's what counts. And the taste of the gluten-free Tarallis is a little bit different than the normal ones, but they're still nice and tasty. And that's exactly what you want. You got some people put like a bit of pepper in their Tarallis, and that's not bad, but I prefer my fennel seeds. At the beginning of the video, I actually was saying how they're wild fennel, that I'm using wild fennel seeds, and you're probably wondering, far out, where the hell do you buy wild fennel seeds? Well, you don't. I mean, maybe you can, I've never seen them in a store, but I sourced mine from Anstey Hill. Anstey Hill is a beautiful little park we have near my place, up at Tea Tree Gully there, and I go for my walks there, and I notice the wild fennel growing. I'll actually link to one of my anti-bull videos. You'll see it up above somewhere. But anyway, I was collecting all my fennel seeds, thinking one day I will get a use for them, and lo and behold, they are now featured in my beautiful gluten-free and normal Tarallis. I'm not a perfectionist when it comes to making Tarallis. My wife said, but they're all different sizes, you know, one's thick, one's thin. Well, if I had to worry about them turning out perfect, that would take the enjoyment out of it. As long as they taste good, it doesn't really bother me what they look like. As far as those their different thicknesses is going to affect the cooking time, but the last batch turned out alright, so I'm assuming this one will as well. Okay, I'm just going to put the water on. The water's boiling, my tarallis are made, and you'll notice in the background that I've got my tea towel. That's once it comes out of the boiling water, I'm going to let it rest on there before I put it back into the trays ready to go into the oven. All you basically do is you get a taralli, you drop it into the boiling water, and you wait for it to rise. Probably just do 4 or 5 at a time. Then once it comes up, you just pick it up, get rid of the excess water, take it out of the pan, and you rest it on your tea towel for draining. You can probably see they're not evenly sized, but like I was saying before, I am not that fussed. Then once you get those out, you pop in a few more tarallis. And sometimes if they don't actually rise up, you might need to nudge it a little bit because it might be stuck to the bottom. But these are coming up nicely. I've got my oven on, I've set it 200 degrees centigrade. So that's ready to go. It's actually really good fun doing this. This is something, my wife looks at me like as if I'm crazy. Maybe she's been cooking for me too long, I reckon. But no, I really enjoy it. Like I said, I find it therapeutic. Especially when it gets to the point where I get to eat it. Best thing ever. And she says, why do you blanch them for? And I said, I don't know. My mum always used to blanch them. I suppose there's a reason for it. So one day, I left a couple of tarallis. I skipped the blanching process just to see what would happen. And they still taste okay, no problems there, but they're dull. Blanching gives it a nice shiny effect. And if you don't, this one starts, you just got to nudge it a little bit and it'll come up. So yeah, by blanching it just gives it a nicer look. So my mum knows what she was doing. Anyone will tell you, Nonnos know. I should actually call my video Nonno's Taralli, because I'm a Nonno. You've probably seen some of my videos on my beautiful granddaughter Capri. I'll leave a link to that up the top there somewhere as well. She's gorgeous. I love her to pieces. And once she gets a little bit older, we're going to introduce her to Nonno's Taralli. How good was that going to be? I've set the oven for 35 minutes. There's my 2 trays of Taralli, and I'll come back once they're done. And that's it, guys. Tarallis are done. They don't look too bad, do they? Overall, I'm pretty happy with those. A couple probably came out a little bit overdone, they're the little skinny ones. And if I'd kept an eye on them rather than making my other Tarallis, I would have been okay. I would have pulled them out in time. That's what I normally do. I pull out the ones that look like they're ready. But still, I've got a great batch. Guys, I hope this helps you make your gluten-free Taralli. If you do one and you happen to put it on YouTube, let me know and I'll be glad to link to your video. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with everybody, especially if they're gluten-free. If you haven't already subscribed, you can do that down below. Hit the subscribe button, click on the bell and select all, and that way you'll get notified of all future videos, especially my Laughaholics. They're a scream and I do one of those every week. As always, guys, Peter from My Bonza channel signing off. Keep well, stay safe, and until next time, catch you later.